I'd now like to call the September 30th City Council regular meeting and work study session to order. City Clerk Ben Lane, please conduct our roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Lisa Borowski.
Present.
Vice Mayor Jan Duboskus.
Here.
Council members Barry Graham. Here. Adam Quasman.
Here.
Kathy Littlefield.
Here.
Marianne McCallan.
Present.
And Solange Whitehead.
Here.
City Manager Greg Kate.
Here.
Interim City Attorney Louis Santea.
Here.
City Treasurer Sonia Andrews.
Here.
Acting City Auditor Leigh Clough.
Here.
And the clerk is present. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. This evening, we have Scottsdale Police Officers Sergeant Bullis, Officer Wilburn, and Officer Mathis, as well as firefighter Tyler Folio. If anyone requires any assistance from those individuals, please let a member of our staff know. This evening, I'd like to invite Councilman Barry Graham to give our Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mayor. My honor.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. And for the invocation this evening, I'll turn it over to Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. And I have invited Reverend Christopher Werps to give our evening prayer. And there he is. Okay, I'll say a few words about him. The Reverend is the lead pastor of North Scottsdale United Methodist Church. He became a pastor because he treasures being present with people in life's most meaningful moments, such as worship, weddings, and everyday connections that form authentic community. At North Scottsdale United Methodist Church, he helps people deepen their faith, build relationships, and nurture spirituality across generations. Christopher believes that faith is at its best when it inspires people to love their neighbors. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the pastor.
Mayor Borowski, council people, thank you for having me. In my faith tradition, we believe that every person is created in the image of the divine and worthy of dignity. We believe that true strength is revealed not in power or profit, but in care for the vulnerable. And we believe that the love of neighbor is both the heart of our faith and the measure of a just community. You may not share my faith, you may not even be religious at all, but surely you can see the truth in this, that a city is at its best when it remembers the poor, when it makes room for the vulnerable, and when it seeks the good of all people. It is from this place that I implore you, Mayor and council members, as you carry out the work of this city this evening, to remember those voices whose are often not heard, the poor, the unhoused, the immigrant, the child without opportunity. And as you deliberate tonight, may you recognize the image of the divine in the least of these, and may compassion and justice guide your decisions. Let us pray. God of justice and mercy, we thank you for this city and for all who make their lives here. We pray for these leaders entrusted with guiding Scottsdale. Grant them wisdom that looks beyond immediate gain, courage to do what is right when it is difficult, and humility to hear the voices of those most often overlooked. We remember before you the vulnerable in our community, families struggling to afford housing, workers seeking dignity in their labor, children longing for opportunity, elders who need care, and neighbors who live without shelter. May their needs stand at the center of all of our concern. Grant this council a vision of justice that honors every race and culture, that protects creation, upholds the dignity of workers, and opens doors for those long shut out of opportunity. Let Scottsdale be known not only for prosperity and growth, but for compassion and fairness and mercy. And we pray for these council members and our mayor themselves. Bless their families and strengthen them in their daily lives. And grant them wisdom to navigate disagreement with grace. Guard them from the temptation to see one another as enemies or rivals, and free them from the pull of blame or scapegoating. Where there is division, sow respect. Where there is weariness, bring renewal. And where there is anger, kindle instead a deeper commitment to the common good. Bless this gathering tonight, and may the decisions here reflect your love, your justice, and your peace. And may this city become a place where the stranger finds welcome, the child finds hope, and the vulnerable find refuge. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Turning to the mayor's report, this evening marks the conclusion of Councilwoman Jan DeBoscus's service as vice mayor. As part of our established rotation outlined in the mayor and council rules, first, thank you, Councilwoman DeBoscus, for your service. And I'm pleased to congratulate Councilman Adam Quasman on his new role as vice mayor. Vice Mayor, now to be, soon to be Quasman, I look forward to working with you in this capacity as we continue to serve the residents of Scottsdale together, of course. Possible executive session announcement, as is always the case at some point during tonight's meeting. The council may elect to make a motion to recess into executive session in order to, or in the event we need to obtain legal advice on an agenda item. If authorized by council to do so, the executive session will be held immediately and will not be open to the public. The public meeting would, in that case, resume following the executive session. I'd like to turn it now to the first public comment period. Public comment is reserved for Scottsdale citizens, business owners, and/or property owners to comment on non-agendized items that are within the council's jurisdiction. No official council action can be taken on these items, and speakers are limited to 3 minutes to address the council. If you wish to speak on a non-agendized, or for that matter, an agendized topic, please see the city clerk if you have not already done so. And I would like to point out that the council does not answer questions or engage in comment during this period of time, so just so everyone's aware. We received, let's see, what do we got? We only have 4 speakers tonight. First, we'll invite Steve Sutton to come down, followed by Dan Isaac, Brian Scott, and Gail Golick. And I'd like to mention the new podium here is to our right.
Everybody hear me?
We can.
Good evening, Honorable Lisa Borowski, Mayor of Scottsdale, and other council members. Tonight, I am submitting a petition that was signed by approximately 95% of residents approached for signature. It requests the City Council take the reasonable course of action of conducting a parking study before spending millions of dollars on building a garage at the parking corral across from the old Adobe Mission. The results of a parking study would be a win-win situation for the City Council. It would either prove to residents that the City Council is correct in supporting building, or allow the City Council to demonstrate they are reasonable leaders who can change their mind when presented with information that does not support their decision to build. My research of the last 25 years of City Council agendas, minutes, transcripts, and other documents indicates the decision to build a garage in front of the old Adobe Mission is not supported by scientifically conducted research. Building a garage is being promoted by a small group of people for political and economic interest. There are residents, business owners, and City Council members saying the 2019 bond election requires building a garage. That is not true. The text of the 2019 bond states that it is to provide funds to design, acquire, construct, reconstruct, improve, furnish, and equip public parking facilities. The 2019 bond language was incorrectly abbreviated on the actual paper ballot. It does not require building parking structures in Old Town Scottsdale. The 2019 bond does not specify a garage location. The 2019 bond does allow building a garage at any suitable location. There are residents and business owners and council members saying the parking corral across from the old Adobe Mission is the only location available to build a garage in historic Old Town. That is not true. There is at least one other suitable city-owned location within walking distance of where I'm standing right now. The historical significance of the old Adobe Mission has been underappreciated and unknown by the majority of Scottsdale residents. Publicity can and will change that. The old Adobe Mission is one of only 2 United States Department of Interior designated historic places in historic Old Town. In the early years of Scottsdale, before and after incorporation as a city, the old Adobe Mission was an important center of cultural events that residents of all ethnicities and faiths enjoyed. It is a monument to the social and cultural development of Scottsdale during the last 90 years. The City Council is failing to comprehend the negative reaction most residents have when learning the details of their plan to build a garage in front of the old Adobe Mission. This petition provides the City Council an opportunity to do what is reasonable and wise. It is not too late for the City Council to avoid alienating a significant percentage of Scottsdale voters. Thank you, Mayor Borowski.
Thank you, Steve. Dan Isaac.
Dan Isaac, address on record. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was actually a national tragedy because it demonstrates how low society has fallen, and we will not allow engagement with people with different opinions. It was even more poignant, and even though I didn't agree with many of Mr. Kirk's statements, that he regularly reached out to people with differing opinions so that they could discuss it civilly. It's a shame that members of our council don't share that admirable quality. For those of you who attend regularly, you know how Barry Graham uses rules of procedure to stifle conversation, whether it's a call to question or his squawking point of order. We know that he blocks people on social media. We know that he asks his supporters to report comments that are unflattering to him on social media. We know that he uses his mouthpiece, Rod Pritchett, and others to say incorrect, vile statements about people. We heard at the last meeting how he inappropriately used police resources to try to intimidate Steve Sutton. We also saw a video where he tried to physically intimidate Mayor Borowski. And he recently worked with our city manager to try to stop residents from being able to collect signatures on petitions on Scottsdale property. Thankfully, our city attorney stopped that. Barry is not alone in this bad behavior. Jan DeBoscus claims that she's the victim of lawfare, when in fact she was actually the instigator and perpetrator of lawfare. Let me remind people what she said to the investigators in her interview. Ben, do we have the video or do I need to?
We frankly have done a lot of research on, can we just 5-2 vote her out? And that's not how that charter doesn't allow it. And so she either has to quit or she has to be convicted to be gone. So we're just not sure what to do. Like you can't trust these people. The 4 of us are friends and we're tight, and Lisa's just always been a bitch.
Point of order.
Could you stop the clock, please?
Point of order. Madam Mayor, Mr. City Attorney, do we have a decorum restriction on what can be stated at the podium for non-agendized items?
Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council, yes, we do have a decorum rule.
Okay.
What's your point of order?
I had a question. I would like to ask the City Attorney to remind the Speaker of that decorum rule that we do have for this instance. For the language that was just portrayed just there.
You mean Jan DeBoscus language?
Yeah, can you just articulate the point of order, Council Vice Mayor Klausman?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Okay.
Luis, can you please remind the speaker about our decorum that we have at this city council chamber?
Mayor and members of the council, I'm happy to remind the speaker the same rules of civil dialogue that apply to the city council apply to you, sir. And what you should have done is bleep that out, and would ask you in the future to take that into account.
Sure, thank you. So not only did Jan participate in lawfare, but at the last meeting she took a page out of Barry's playbook and she asked one of her supporters to complain to the police about an interaction that I had with her. Jan, I will not be intimidated by you. It would surprise people that I'm actually a conservative. I was an active participant in the Republican Party for most of my adult life. I was even an LD 23 state committeeman for GOP. I'm a conservative for many reasons. 3 important ones are, 1, I believe in the Constitution. It applies to all of us, not just those who curry favor with elected officials. Jan and Barry apparently feel differently. 2nd, I believe in fiscal responsibility. Jan and Barry presided over a blowout budget that recklessly spends our tax dollars and cuts into our reserves. And lastly, I believe in law and order. Filing false criminal complaints against opponents and using the police to intimidate them is the opposite of law and order. They are not conservatives. They're trying to spend your money unnecessarily and squash your rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Brian Scott, followed by Gail Golek.
Can I have the projector, please? Okay, first I want to express my sincere appreciation for Mayor Lisa Borowski. Everyone seems to be giving her a hard time, and Scottsdale is lucky to have someone skilled and capable in the saddle. Tonight I want to address the latest tourism funding, $75,000 for the Bentley Polo Party. Here's the page from the, let me find my place again. Here's the page from the event website. It shows Gila River Resort and Talking Stick Resort sponsoring the event. These sponsorships disqualify the event from funding according to funding criteria. This is the 14th annual polo party. Scottsdale has supported it for many years, yet staff analysis omits the history. Council, the event website says at the bottom, you can read it here, a way to stand with Ukraine at the Scottsdale Polo Party. Flyers handed out last year at the event state, quote, do not perpetuate the enemy propaganda, quote, do not invest or spend money with companies doing business in Russia, and quote, abandon isolationism. Cancel funding an event signaling bias and promoting political agendas during a deadly international conflict does not align with Scottsdale's brand. It alienates people and raises questions about the anti-discrimination ordinance. Even more disturbing, the sponsored group affiliated with the Bentley Polo event has scheduled an event in Scottsdale Public Library on December 4th titled Lady Death, promoting wartime snipers and glorifying assassination. This is not appropriate, especially not without public scrutiny. So I'm requesting an audit of the Bentley Polo funding for this year and the previous 3 years under Section 7 of the Event Development Funding Agreement, Contract 2025126. Finally, changes to the Tourism Development Commission bylaws are bizarre and alarming. Funding criteria has vanished into thin air, replaced with language that says, quote, a code of ethics is not necessary, and quote, rules may be suspended for particular individuals, end quote. Follow the instructions of the commission chairperson or be removed from the meeting, end quote. This opens the door to arbitrary enforcement, censorship, and systemic corruption. Scottsdale's tourism brand has been built over decades with Western spirit, professionalism, and civic values. Scottsdale can do better.
Thank you. Gail Golek.
Mayor Borowski, members, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I am here to petition for a report The Arizona Revised Statutes, Section 45-576, requires that every new development in an active management area must demonstrate a 100-year assured water supply before approval. It's before approval. That means enforceable proof of water, not just promises in a contract. The Public Records Department confirmed that no records exist showing 100 years assured water supply for the Axon project. A promise to purchase storage credits is not proof. The law requires enforceable contracts and a portfolio analysis. Scottsdale is relying on a designation issued in 2013. The original supply and demand analysis is not on file. The renewal application for that designation is still under review by the Arizona Department of Water Resources, and it is not final. Axon's only water obligation is 3,000 acre-feet of storage credits, and it is suspended by the referendum and unenforceable. If zoning is overturned via the referendum, that obligation disappears entirely. We are missing we have a lack of portfolio analysis showing how Scottsdale will cover the Axon's projected demand of about 688 acre-feet per year for 100 years. Without it, there is no guarantee water supply for this project. Before any action, I request that the council must require proof that Axon has secured the water through binding contracts, an updated enforceable portfolio analysis showing the city can cover Axon's demand for 100 years, or acknowledge publicly that the city of Scottsdale is not in compliance with current state law as required by Arizona Revised Statutes Section 45-576. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That concludes the public comment on non-agendized items, so I will close public comment in that regard. Next, we have the approval of the minutes, and if there's no revisions, I will entertain a motion to approve the special meeting minutes of July 2nd, 2025, executive session meeting minutes of July 2nd, 2025, regular meeting and work session minutes of July 2nd, 2025.
So moved.
All those in favor, please indicate. Thank you. Next, we move to consent agenda items 1 through 14A. Do any members of the council have questions on any of the consent items or requests to move anything off the agenda? Consent agenda, that is. Go ahead, Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a comment. One of the beauties of city government is we actually are connected to our residents. So I am looking for the item number. Maybe somebody can help me here. We had a group of students, part of the Mayor's Council, come forward with a proposed ordinance to make electronic, cigarette devices abide by the same rules as regular cigarettes, and tonight we're approving that ordinance change. I'm projecting an approval, and I'm just thrilled. And so I just want to remind everybody that Scottsdale is a 240,000 person city that acts like a small town. So thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for beating me to that. They're up here today, and so good job, you guys, getting ahead of the curve and proposing ordinances to stop outdoor vaping. So that's in public spaces, so that's great. So having not seen any other questions or requests to remove, I will now entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 14A.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, please indicate your vote.
Mayor, I apologize. We have several individuals signed up for public comment on the consent items before we vote.
Sorry, thank you for pointing that out. Actually, it's one of the Mayor's Council members. Great. And then we also have Brian Scott for item number 8. So let's take Brian Scott first. Thank you. City Clerk.
Thank you. I'm here to strongly oppose the $150,000 city funding for the Day of Death event, especially since it's double the city's stated maximum of $75,000. The event is disturbing and alarming. This is not a Catholic holiday like All Saints' Day. Day of Death is rooted in Aztec religious practices involving human sacrifices, cannibalism, and death worship, practices that Spanish missionaries condemned as satanic, in which many still view as spiritually toxic today. At the center of this celebration is the Aztec goddess of death, said to have been sacrificed as a child, then married in the underworld. Giant skeleton installations, including what appears to be skeleton wedding ceremony, directly echo this Aztec death goddess mythology. Promoting this with public funds is a serious cultural and spiritual distortion. This is why Scottsdale, why is Scottsdale, a city known for family values and civic pride, paying a Los Angeles company to import imagery rooted in blood ritual? Even more troubling, the financials used to justify this funding don't appear credible. The report claims over $600,000 in expenses for the 2024 event, but this is unaudited and suspect. Key numbers feel inflated, inconsistent, and cherry-picked. The event is marketed to Los Angeles and Mexico, and it's being staged at a historic Catholic church, adding religious confusion. This is not cultural celebration, this is cultural rot, subsidized by the city of Scottsdale, and I urge you to cancel this funding. Scottsdale can do better.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. I'm going to bounce back to consent agenda item 1, and that is the Arden Scottsdale, and I'll ask Malin Pankowitz to come speak.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor and council members. My name is Malin Pankowitz. I am a property owner at 303 North Miller Road, Casa de Amigos. I want to preface all this conversation by saying I am a planner. I am aware of the difference between an abandonment and whatever approvals are for zoning or just regular design on specific zoning. But I'm here for the record because our residents are really upset regarding the design of the Arden. So I'm here ahead of the DRB hearing to give you a heads up on our community's concerns regarding the layout and design of the development, which at 3 stories will remove our solar access from the west side of our 2-story building. I want to let you know that we're fully aware of the R5 requirements for setbacks and understand that the developer can build to the minimum standards of R5 zoning and 3 stories. We don't oppose this. We don't oppose the abandonment, even though they barely have talked to us about the kinds of accesses that we would need to our properties. But we do oppose the complete lack of context sensitivity that was given in setting this plan up for your review. From the perspective, we will have a Casa de Amigos. Our southwestmost building has bedroom windows that, if the development is approved and built, will completely lack natural light and privacy with a new 3-story building only 21 feet away. I want to remind the council members that Scottsdale average width of traffic lanes is about 11 feet, so this is less than 2 lanes of traffic away from our windows. In addition, along our west side, we have landscape and decades-old mature trees that we will see completely reduced to null in terms of solar access, killing our landscape and screening from this abutting 3-story development that would cast a perpetual shadow on our trees and our bedrooms. Our largest concern is the minimal separation provided between buildings in the Arden southeast corner and our units in the southwest corner. We have reviewed all the existing R5 developments adjacent to each other in our neighborhoods, and we could not find a similar condition where the distance is so minimal between adjacent developments, and new construction is only relying on the established development to provide all of the buffering and most of the setback. In every case, despite being able to build to minimal and no setback in R5 zoning, design considerations were always applied to ensure solar access and privacy. These considerations have not occurred in this case. Approval of this development as is will set a precedent in our neighborhood for non-context sensitive construction that leaves behind the permanent consequences of poorly planned building locations with no access to natural light. We have worked in good faith with the developers' representatives on our concerns, and they state that they are unable to reorganize the layout of the site to provide more distance and natural light. This is a shame because the 21-foot distance between our building and their proposed building will not only reduce our property values, it will also reduce theirs and affect their landscape as well. Everyone would benefit from more distance between our buildings. Thank you for hearing me out on this topic.
Of course, thank you very much. Going back to item number 11, Sid Gupta, come on down.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council members. My name is Sid Gupta, address on file. I'm a junior at Desert Mountain High School, and I'm here representing the Scottsdale Mayor's Youth Council and the Scottsdale Youth Substance Abuse Coalition. We presented a petition to the City Council at the May 20th City Council meeting regarding prohibiting the use of vapes in public areas and conforming to the state's Arizona Smoke-Free Act. And I'm pleased to see that it is on today's consent agenda. I'm grateful for the support that I've received from all the City Council members, city staff, as well as organizations such as the American Cancer Society, American Heart Association, American Lung Association, and the Campaign for Tobacco-Free Kids. I thank you for taking this important step in improving the public health of Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'd just like to congratulate you again. The determination and commitment you've shown as a part of the Mayor's Youth Council has been really, really refreshing and incredible, and you actually got something passed. Good job. So, all right. More than most legislators can say, right? All right. Moving right along. So now we will go back to our regular agenda. Oh, we're going to vote on this first. Consent agenda items number 1 through 14A. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor, please indicate your vote. All right. Moving right along to our regular agenda items tonight. Passes. Item number 15. Item number 15 is a request to adopt ordinance number 4686 for a zoning district map amendment from single-family residential district environmentally sensitive lands to single-family residential district environmentally sensitive lands designation on approximately a 40-acre site consisting of 2 parcels for a 32-lot subdivision community at the southeast corner of East Ranch Gate Road and 112th Street. I see Jesus Murillo, senior planner with the city, is here to give us a presentation. It's all yours.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor Borowski and Vice Mayors Dabascus and Quasman, and the members of the council. Again, my name is Jesus, planner here with the city. Today I'll be presenting in front of you 8ZN 2024, also known as the Ranch Gate 40. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, that is a request to rezone from the R1130 with the environmentally sensitive lands overlay to the R135 over those 40 acres. Slide's a little busy, but there were some key considerations that were developed during the process and also from the Planning Commission to this point that I'd love to point out. One, the project is located within the Dynamite Foothills character area. The project will be requesting amended development standards with the final plat, and as such, with the increase in density and amended development standards, the applicant is proposing the justification with additional natural area open space. There were some concerns received from neighboring properties, which the applicant, I won't steal thunder from them, they will address you and how those have been addressed. Also in your supplemental packet, I think you might have seen some comments, some additional comments from some residents, and I just wanted to point out that most of those concerns are to be addressed through existing codes and ordinances. I also wanted to point out that a resident did speak in favor of the project at the Planning Commission hearing. So the site is generally located on the southeast corner of East Ranch Gate Road and 128th Street. As you can see, that's about a quarter mile down from the McDowell Sonoran Preserve to the north and about 3/4 of a mile from the McDowell Sonoran Preserve to the east. As you can see, it is surrounded by on the north, east, and south boundaries by the Story Rock subdivision, and the McDowell Mountain Manor, which is now tied into Sereno Canyon, is located immediately across the street to the west. This is a closer look at the site. As you can see, there are three large washes that intersect onto the property diagonally, and that kind of created natural building envelopes for where development would occur on the site itself. So again, the site itself is zoned R1130. To the north, we have R170 and R118 with the planned community district, and that planned community district applies to the entire Story Rock property. So you have R135, R118, both to the west or to the east and to the south, and R143 on that McDowell Mountain Manor site. And the applicant is requesting to rezone to the R135, also with the environmentally sensitive lands overlay on top of that. So busy slide, and it's here just in case you have questions, but if I would first like to direct your attention to those boxes that you see in blue and in orange. The existing zoning allows for 0.31 dwelling units per acre, which calculates to 12 lots. And the current proposed zoning, without any amendment to it, the R135 allows for 1.04 dwelling units per acre, which is 41 lots. Now, although that's the zoning that's being requested, it has been stipulated and capped at 0.80 dwelling units per acre, totaling 32 lots. And if I may also direct your attention to the bottom of the slide, the property, as per straight ESL standards, is required to provide 14.45 acres of natural area open space, and the applicant is proposing to provide 18.32 acres of NAOS, with 13.3 of those being in tracts, and that's about 70%. This is the site. We'll zoom in a little closer. As you can see, the proposal has one entrance coming onto the property from each Ranch Gate Road, and although that will be the primary access that is used to get to the private street tracks, in the lower southwest corner, the bottom left-hand corner here, there is also a secondary access point that serves kind of in for three different reasons. The first one, it will be emergency access if needed to evacuate the site, or if just needing access to a secondary access to the site as you see it here today. There will also be a trail that is located within that area to connect this community to the trail system that is located along 128th Street. And it will also be used as construction access during the time of construction for the site itself. Moving on to the circulation plan, we'll blow that up a little. As you can see, the project has been stipulated to provide 50 feet of desert scenic roadway off of Ranch Gate Road, and then an average of 100 feet of scenic corridor that is located along the 128th Street frontage, with the ordinance restricting the minimum of that to being 85 feet in length. Next, I'll zoom into that as well, looking at the natural area open space. Again, as you can see, 70% of the NAOS is going to be located within Tract A or Tract B, which is preferred by the ordinance, and the remainder of that natural area open space will be on lot. This is the site plan that is superimposed onto that green area that you see there is the existing open space surrounding the property, so you can see how it ties into the surrounding open space. There were questions about density and surrounding areas. Again, the density being proposed for this site is 0.80 dwelling units per acre, with 0.80 dwelling units per acre just across the street. 0.77 dwelling units per acre on the Asteria Highlands, located about a quarter mile south. And there is a total of 0.96 dwelling units per acre that was approved for the Story Rock project that surrounds the remainder of the project. So some of the updates that the applicant did, again, in relationship to during the review cycle, the first one was that there were residents that were concerned about construction access coming in through East Ranch Gate Road, which is where the applicant then agreed to the secondary access off 128th. Now, again, not to take thunder away from the applicant, I know that they have a stipulation to further impose how traffic accesses this site. I'll allow them to present it, but staff has it also in writing in case it is approved that we can read it into the stipulation, since that occurred between yesterday and today. The lots were reduced from 33 to 32. And then this one I will speak a little bit about because there was some misunderstandings on this point here. A resident had requested that there be a street light for illumination to be located on the site. And because this intersection qualified as a conflict point by transportation, they agreed that this would be a good site for a light. the applicant agreed to that as well. Through that discussion, people misunderstood that the street light for illumination to be a light signal for directional. And that conversation kind of formed into people disagreeing with what should happen at the intersection. So again, we want to make sure that it's clarified that it is a street light and not a light signal being proposed at this intersection. Some other discussions that have been had are about 128th Street. So currently, as you can see here, both the street classification map and the classification changes as per the Transportation Master Plan right now have designated 128th Street between Each Ranch Gate Road and Joe Max as for emergency access only. Currently, the development that is located adjacent to this site, which is this white area that you see around the yellow triangle, they are stipulated by a development agreement to have access through 128th Street. But once that construction has been completed, it will continue to be for emergency access only. Again, the applicant does have a stipulation that they would like to propose to further stipulate traffic to not come up and down 128th Street. The Planning Commission heard this case on August 27th and recommended approval with a vote of 7-0. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant, I know, has a presentation, and his staff is here to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, Jesus. And next we have the applicant presentation given by Keith Nichter with Kimley Horn.
Hello, good evening, Mayor Borowski, Vice Mayors. I wasn't sure when the baton was handed, so I like the way Jesus said it. So congratulations on that. Is it now? Is it official? All right. My name is Keith Nichter, 2046 Riverview Auto Drive, Mesa, Arizona. I'm a land planner at Kimley Horn. Got members from the team here from our engineering side, as well as our client, Emerson Holdings. Been working with them in this area for a long time. Probably has contributed to a little bit of the gray hair in my beard that's starting to come out, but it's been a good time, and it's been cool to see this area develop, and also get to meet a lot of the residents out here that now live in these communities and are really enjoying it. So Jesus did steal most of my thunder, so I did prepare a full presentation, but I'll go ahead and skip through most of it. I'll just give you kind of the Cliff Notes version. But just try to highlight some points and then provide some color. But the site, as Jesus mentioned, is essentially surrounded by Story Rock. It was an out parcel at the time. They did not want to be included in the zoning at the time. They were unsure what they wanted to do with the land, but we agreed to kind of walk with them through the process. So we actually planned for this site in all our master reports for Story Rock from both an engineering standpoint and an infrastructure standpoint. So unique site from the standpoint that all the infrastructure is built, the water and sewer was accommodated for the site, infrastructure stubs were built to the site, so essentially it's ready to go. And when we factored in what this site might be, we went ahead and used the maximum that the general plan would allow, which is 40 lots. So essentially this site's been anticipated to be 40 lots in all our engineering master plans as part of Story Rock. I'll skip through this slide here, just as a little zoom in of the aerial, but you gotta look at that from Jesus's presentation. Jesus mentioned the general plan designation. It's rural neighborhoods. Again, that allows the maximum of 1 dwelling unit per acre, which would be 40 lots. Within the general plan, big focus for these rural areas is the preservation of natural vegetation. One of the ways they allow for that is through clustering of development. You see this throughout North Scottsdale. It's a great way to not only use development envelopes and amended standards, but to create developments that allows you to put the lots where they belong. So through the use of development envelopes and clustering, we essentially feel that we've created the most sensitive plan possible. When we look at sites like this, we typically first look at the general plan and the surrounding context to see what's doable. Again, we anticipated 40 lots here, but as we started to look at the site specifically, we realized that probably not appropriate. So you'll see kind of the zoning pattern that was set up through Story Rock. You kind of see the larger lots on the perimeter, and then the smaller lots were interior to the project. So while we probably could have gotten 40 lots here, we thought it was more appropriate to look at the R143 density, which has kind of been established around the perimeter. I'll mention why we went to R135, but essentially the density that we use is the R143. But wanted to kind of recap the community outreach. I saw the staff report had a lot of the same email repeated over and over, so I'll give you, again, the Cliff Notes version. So had a neighborhood meeting back in January. Time flies. There was about 16 neighbors that attended. At the time, we had a 33-lot plan. We always like to put our best foot forward to try to accommodate what may be coming. So we felt like we did that, but through that process, we felt like it was appropriate to lose a lot. So that's the 32-lot plan that we have today. But the discussion points that we discussed was drainage and water and sewer. We have approved water and sewer reports and drainage report through this process. So we've addressed their concerns there. There was questions about the HOA. We will not be a part of Story Rock. We're not a part of the DA or the HOA, but the idea would be that the HOA would be set up to match the character of Story Rock. Traffic were less than what was approved in the overall TEMA that was approved with the Story Rock plan. Some of you may remember it was actually approved anticipating the potential Greasewood Flats moving over there, which obviously is never going to happen. But that being said, there was a lot more trips anticipated for this area, so we're well beyond, below that with our 32 lots. There was a concern about building height. We've committed to 1 story. This matches the character of the surrounding area. Lighting will meet the city's intrinsically dark areas requirements for all lighting. Again, we did add that light at the corner based on staff's concern about safety at that intersection. Through all the confusion about whether or not that was a street light or traffic signal, we've agreed to work with the neighbors moving forward. The next step, if approved, would be a pre-plat, which goes to the Development Review Board. They're the ones that approve specific lighting, so we'll create a photometric plan that we can discuss with the neighbors and look at specific lighting fixtures that is going to essentially set us up best for those dark skies. There was questions about wildlife. While it's not required, we went ahead and performed a biological study, and everything looks good out here. Questions about fire. That was a big discussion point and why we ended up revising the site plan to remove a lot. We ended up putting in the emergency access, and then also we discussed about the benefits of the plan that we have today, which is the large amount of tracked NEOS, because that will be maintained by the HOA rather than being online NEOS that's maintained by a individual homeowner. So that'll be allowed regular maintenance throughout the community to get rid of, potential, dead branches and brush that can be a potential hazard. Then the last thing that was kind of the big thing, again, that we kind of coupled with the emergency access was neighbors were concerned about construction access coming down Ranch Gate. So we've agreed to remove that lot and provide a temporary construction access on 128, so that will alleviate those concerns. Again, here's the plan. As I mentioned, we look to try to create a plan early on, and as you guys know, we like to get out and have discussions early about creating a plan that's going to hopefully avoid you guys getting calls. So we're hopeful that we put that best foot forward. But the reason we looked at R143 was density, because it meant it matched the existing character. But the reason we went with R135 is because we can use smaller lots to create more tract open space. You'll see here that we use the R143 in the right-hand column. We use the R143 density, lot width, building height, front setbacks, side setbacks, and rear setbacks. So we're consistent with the R143 from that perspective. But the one thing we wanted to use that R135 zoning category and lot size was for that tract NEOS. So essentially, on the left is what we could have achieved with the R143 zoning. We could have gotten the essentially minimum 32,000 square foot lots with a 1 acre average. To be honest, that's more beneficial to our client because they'd be able to sell those lots for more money. But we've worked with the city a lot and understand the desire to have more tract NEOS that's maintained by the HOA. So we've reduced those lot sizes. Again, same density, same lot widths and setbacks, but you'll see all that dark green on the right. That's the benefit of using that R135 and amending those standards to create the majority of the site as tract NEOS. And so out of that additional NEOS that we provided, 71% of that is in tracts, which is probably a record for me. So as far as kind of the highlights goes, Jesus mentioned we recently received 7-0 recommendation from Planning Commission. We've worked with neighbors throughout the process. You probably saw a recent letter of support from one of the neighbors that had a lot of questions, and we're hopeful that we've been able to resolve all those, and it seems to be that case. We'll continue to work with them through the pre-plat as far as the lighting goes. But again, we wanted to match the character that's already been established out here. So the 32 lots was more appropriate than the 40 that the general plan allows. It creates a plan with 50% essentially open space for the community. And again, it fits within the master plans and it has minimal impacts. Again, it's just 4% of the Story Rock area, large buffers. And recently, we actually got David Weekley under contract if this gets approved. So we're excited to add another high-quality builder out in this area. So with that being said, we do have a stipulation that we've worked with staff on that I can bring up here. So it revolves around, again, the emergency access that exists on 128th Street. So we'd like to keep it that way. Again, we won't be a part of the DA with this project, and so we've agreed to come up with an additional stipulation that would make sure that no construction access is taken through the preserve. So not only are we adding that temporary construction access to the site, but this would remove the access through the preserve as well. So with that being said, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. First, I'm going to take, there were 2 speakers listed for this, Carla, followed by John Ball.
Thank you. I'm Carla, a preserve pioneer and Peaceful Valley resident. As you saw in the presentations, this development is south of the preserve, what's called Gooseneck. And the reason I'm here is when this came before the Planning Commission, there were multiple comments about when 128th Street is paved north all the way to Rio Verde Drive. And then there was discussion about should there be, a traffic signal or a roundabout. And the issue is that not once during all that discussion did anyone on staff or anyone point out that 128th Street will never be paved through the preserve.
and it says so in the Transportation Action Plan, that this will ultimately have emergency access only gates put up to protect the preserve. So I'm here tonight to clarify this with the public and to ask the City Council to use this as an opportunity to finally solve this problem. Thankfully, these applicants were willing to put this stipulation in there that said they will not take their construction vehicles through our preserve. And I appreciate Councilwomen Whitehead and DeBoscus for working with them on this. But 2 more actions are needed. The first thing is better signage. On 128th Street, on the northern part of the preserve gooseneck and the southern part of the preserve gooseneck, you need big old signs that say, this is preserve land, and ultimately this will be gated emergency access only. And the reason that's so important is when you have residents coming in there and they don't know this is what's going to happen, it's harder to take things away after the fact. That's why when we bought preserve land and cited the access areas, immediately put up huge signs saying, there's going to be a trailhead here. So if you buy near here, you're going to be next to a trailhead. And that helps avoid problems down the road. The second thing that is needed, hopefully, is a drop-dead date as to when these gates go up. Because the longer you wait, the longer you create problems. And I hope that the City Council will address these issues so we can solve this problem for once and for all, because currently along 128th, inside our preserve, there is gating along, there's fencing along both sides. And that needs to come down so the wildlife can travel freely. So those are my requests, and hopefully we can use this as an opportunity. And thank the applicant for the stipulation. Thank you.
Thank you. John Ball.
Good evening. If the applicant could pull up maybe the plot map. I don't know how to project this for everyone to see. So I'm here, I live in Story Rock, and I've been looking at this piece of land for a long time. The whole preserve is beautiful. We all acknowledge that the Tom's Thumb Trailhead is one of the crown jewels of Scottsdale. It's a big tourist attraction. Probably tens of thousands of people hike that trail every year. And I have no problem with the proposal here. They've done a good job, but I wanted to suggest a few amendments. As we all know, when we drive into the preserve area, it's a beautiful piece of land. And unfortunately, when you see homes that have been built right next to the road on Ranch Gate, there's some pockets there, as well as on 128th Street, you can see into people's backyards and their patios and even their living rooms. They're so close. And I know here the applicant has said that they've allocated 100 feet minimum on 128th Street. You'll see there on the left. Well, 128th Street is one of the most trafficked roads in this area because it leads directly to the Tom's Thumb Trailhead. Whereas Ranch Gate Road on the north side is hardly trafficked in comparison because that's just where residents live. You will also see on the southwestern side a lot of land that they've allocated for open space, which is great. The only problem about that southwest side and that north side is that no one really sees that in comparison to all the drivers and people who come to hike the trail. So what I would like to propose is the applicant revise the plot map here to where those 5 lots on the western side be reallocated and moved to either the north side or the south side or both, where no one sees that land in comparison to all of the folks that drive down 128th Street, both to get to the trailhead and to come back. I think we all agree we want to keep Scottsdale clean and scenic, and looking into people's backyards, 100 feet is not that far away. It's probably from where I'm sitting to that back wall. So you can imagine when you're driving by, especially as a long-time Scottsdale resident or even a visitor, they would say, why would they put homes so close to the road? It feels like I'm driving through a neighborhood rather than through a preserve. So I'd like to request that that change be made. And then additionally, Right across the street from 128th Street, Sereno Canyon is being built out. So you're going to have probably 3 different pockets of land that are being developed and ripped up simultaneously. There's already 2 being developed. And when you go up to the Tom's Thumb trailhead and you start hiking up and you look down, you just see a lot of construction going on. And I think if we want to keep Scottsdale clean and scenic, that they should temper the development time and put a moratorium until the other development is done on those other pockets of land. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes the speakers on this item, and let's see, Vice Mayor DeBoscus has something to say there.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I first wanted to ask our city manager if you have the opportunity, after hearing Carla's comments, if we could take a look into those and see if there's some improvements that we could make that she's suggested. I thought those were nice comments.
Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor, yes, certainly. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Carla, for your commentary. Also, I had a question for the applicant and for staff regarding the light at the intersection. Is that going to be a lighted stop sign? What is that light going to be?
It'll be a street light, but the city has different essentially lighting criteria for different parts of the city. This is in intrinsically dark areas. So there's certain lumens essentially that can be used for streetlights. So it's not going to be like a typical streetlight in a suburban neighborhood. So it'll be real low level. And again, as we go through the DRB process, part of that is identifying the lights fixture as well as the photometrics. And what that does is map out essentially light pollution. So you can see how that affects the surrounding area. So we can come up with a light fixture that's going to address the concerns from the neighborhood. But it'll essentially be a street light. It'll just be low level lighting.
It's like a dark sky type street light. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I also want to thank Carla for her remarks. And in fact, it's something we've been working on since last year. I want to thank the applicants for working with us on this particular case. So, so look forward to more action, but that's not tonight's agenda. I'm pleased with the use of the larger lot density, but the smaller lot designation so that we get the maximum amount of open space that's, as you called it, the community tract, I think is what you, and that really matters. I think both from a visual standpoint, from a wildfire prevention standpoint, and from a wildlife standpoint. So very good. So with that, I move to adopt ordinance number 4686 for a zoning district map amendment from single-family residential district environmentally sensitive lands R1 130 ESL to single-family residential district environmentally sensitive lands R135 ESL designation on the 40-acre site consisting of 2 parcels for the 32-lot subdivision community.
Second.
Although I don't see any more questions or comments, so all those in favor, please indicate your vote. All right, that passes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have mayor and council items. First is item 17, boards, commissions, and committees, 2024 annual report presentations. Tonight, we have presentations and possible direction regarding key accomplishments, major actions taken, upcoming opportunities, challenges, and/or outcomes of the following public bodies. First, Airport Advisory Commission, then we'll have the Citizens Bond Oversight Commission, followed by Human Relations Commission, and finally, Transportation Commission. Welcome, ladies. Airport Advisory Commission. We have, I see Kelly, not Peter, though.
That's correct, Mayor. We have Vice Chair April Boboff joining us today as our Chair Meyer was not able to attend.
No problem. Welcome. Thank you very much for being here. I'll give the floor to you.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay. Sorry. So can we advance to the next slide, please? So the Airport Advisory Commission is designed or was created, to advise on various aspects of airport operations, proposals for development, airport area land use, fees, and safety concerns. We currently have a board of 7 members who assist the staff and advise the City Council on aviation-related issues. What I would like to emphasize here, because I appreciate that you all can read this slide, is that all of the 7 board members that are serving on the commission, including myself, we all come from diverse backgrounds. Some of us have backgrounds in aviation, some of us have backgrounds in business, some of us have backgrounds in other areas, some of us are retired, some of us are still working on our careers full-time, but at the end of the day, what unites all of us is that we have a real shared interest in aviation, and we appreciate the jewel that the Scottsdale Airport is for our city, and particularly as an economic engine and a business model. So with this, we will advance to the next slide. And so 2024, we had some key accomplishments and major actions that were taken by the commission. The first one being the approval of the 5-year capital improvement plan. So this was very important for the airport. This goes across fiscal year 24-25 to fiscal years 28-29. So that sets the strategy and the stage for the years to come. We received a grant, I take that back. We received an award from the Federal Aviation Administration for Western Pacific Region Outstanding Airport of the Year. We received an FAA grant to support our airport master plan, so that's a huge win for us. And then last but not least, we continue to be a self-sustaining enterprise fund. No general fund dollars are used to operate the airport, and that's an amazing business model for the rest of the city to follow as well.
If we could go on to the next slide, please. Thank you, Mayor and council members, for the opportunity to talk to you about the latest and greatest things that we have going on at the airport. As you know, we're entering the busy season, so we have a lot going on at the airport, but for tonight's purposes, I'll focus just on these 3 items that we have on the screen. The first 2 we're very excited about. These are grant projects that were awarded to us by the FAA. Just within the last month or so, we got the grant awards for both of these projects. When it's an FAA grant-funded project, the FAA is covering 95% of the total cost of each of these projects. The remaining 5% is split evenly between Arizona Department of Transportation Avionics Group and the Scottsdale Airport. Both of these projects are in line with the airport's mission of safe and efficient operations, so we're very excited. We should be getting these projects started sometime later this year and hopefully completed later this year, if not early next year. I want to focus the majority of my attention tonight on the airport master plan. As Vice Chair had mentioned, last year we received this grant also from the FAA. The funding was a little bit different though last year. The FAA covers 91.06% of the cost of the airport master plan, leaving 4.47 to be covered by ADOT and the other 4.47 to be covered by the airport. What is a master plan, you ask? It's a visionary planning document for the airport so that we can anticipate upcoming aviation changes within the industry over the next 20 years. We want to be prepared as possible to make sure that the airport is providing that level of customer service that we're currently providing. So what do we do with that? Well, this particular master plan, we're very much focused on getting our economic impact study updated. So in 2024, we are having our subconsultant take a look at what airport and air park aviation-related businesses are doing to impact the economy. Another focus for us, if you've been up to the airport recently at all, you'll see we're built out. We don't have a lot of space, but we have a lot of demand. So we want to use the master plan to look at airport and air park land to see what's available. Because not only do we get requests for more aircraft parking, we also get requests for more vehicle parking. As more users come to our airport, more businesses come to their airport, we need additional parking, but again, not just for aircraft, but also for vehicles. And what I really want to point out to you tonight is the discussion about larger aircraft. Now let me clarify, larger does not mean commercial. We do not have commercial service at Scottsdale Airport, nor do we anticipate that coming to us at all in the near future. The airport currently accommodates aircraft that are up to 100,000 pounds in maximum certified takeoff weight, which is a 100-foot wingspan. But we get requests every week from our current users and operators, and from operators that want to be at Scottsdale Airport to bring in bigger aircraft. So we're working with a variety of different departments within the FAA and other aviation stakeholders to see, is that feasible, is that possible, and can we maintain our safe and efficient operations? So that's a little bit of what we have going on. The next master plan open house is going to be November 13th at the Signature Private Hangars. It's right next to our Aviation Business Center. We hope you all can attend, 5 o'clock p.m., open house, drop-in style. So we invite everybody for that, and we look forward to bringing the master plan towards the mayor and council for your approval sometime in early 2026. So if we could go on to the next slide. That wraps up as quickly as we can at our very busy little airport, and if you have any questions, the vice chair and I are happy to answer them.
Great job. Thank you for the presentation. I don't see any questions or comments. Sounds like you've got a lot going on. Councilwoman Littlefield, do you want to?
Yeah, I just would like to repeat the date of the open house, please.
Yes, Mayor, council members, Councilwoman Littlefield. It will be Thursday, November 13th, 5 o'clock p.m. In the Signature private hangars, it's the two large hangars that are right next to the Aviation Business Centers. We'll have signs and staff out there directing you which way to go. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Citizens Bond Oversight Commission, and for the two individuals that turned in the petitions, don't fret, we're going to go back to those to direct staff on those. Thank you. I see Aaron Welsh, staff representative, and Joe Dubois, chair.
Dubois.
Dubois, okay, sorry about that.
That's okay, I get that a lot.
I'm sure you do. Thanks for being here. The floor is yours.
All right, can we go to the first slide, please? Mayor and City Council, we are here to talk about the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. This committee was established by ordinance after the 2015 bond election. That ordinance was amended after the 2019 bonds were passed so that the committee could oversee all bonds that the city has. The committee's purpose is simply to receive reports on the implementation of the bond program and really to oversee the funds associated with the bond program. They review any proposed changes to the program and provide comments to the City Council as they deem appropriate. This group meets 4 times a year. They have 7 members that are appointed at large to 2-year terms. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to our chair to talk about what we've been up to lately.
Thank you, Erin. Good evening, Mayor Borowski and members of the council. My name is Joe Dubois, and I'm currently serving as the chairman of the Bond Oversight Committee. I think I would begin by reminding and reporting to the council that our charter, our task, is not one of policymaking. We essentially monitor the spending that has been allowed through the bond and try to make sure that the money is spent correctly and appropriately. We do not make policy. We defer to the council for that. From time to time, of course, we will make recommendations, and sometimes we hope that those recommendations are followed. In any event, the accomplishments this year, I think I would point out that we've been able to transfer a number of the funding from one completed project to another with savings to alternate projects within the same question. Remembering that the bond was divided into 3 question areas. And so it's appropriate if we have a project, and we've had some that come in under budget, and we have some savings, that we're able and have been able to recommend transferring those saved funds to other projects, so long as they're within the same question. In addition to that, another method for helping to move the funds around in the proper manner, we have funds that actually earn interest. And this year we've been able to allocate some of the interest earned to other projects and to help meet shortfalls in some of the other projects, again, so long as those projects fall within the same question, one of the 3 question areas. Upcoming opportunities and challenges, I think what I would report to the council is that as projects are completed in the coming years, there should be opportunities presented to us to transfer savings again to other projects that we have within that same question area. One of the things that we also do is that we evaluate recommended changes to some of the projects, either in scope or duration or whatever. And we've had a few of those that we've done this year and recommended changes back to the council, again, because you're the policy-making body. I think that one of the challenges that we have, and I'm sure you've heard this as well, this is a bond that was approved in 2019, and I think that one of the criticisms that I receive, and I'm sure you do as well, is the length of time that it takes to get projects done. Not only the length of time, but the concomitant problem with that is that because of inflation and so forth, we have increased costs of the projects. And so we're constantly dealing with that issue of, gee, this is costing more than we thought it was going to cost when the bond was passed. So that is a challenge. One of the ways that we're able to adjust to that, of course, is if we have savings in one project, we are actually able to get that saving moved to another project. I think with that, rather than continuing to bore you and keep going on, I would entertain any questions that you may have. Otherwise, I would be remiss if I didn't take an opportunity to thank city staff who make our job so much easier. We have the good fortune to have Aaron here, who runs liaison with the council and with us. Also Allison Timko, our engineer, and who marshals all of the information relating to the projects for us, and Dan Worth, who often comes and elucidates on many of the arcane issues as well. So with that, if there are no questions, that's all we have at this point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Du Bois. And thank you, Aaron. Oh, Vice Mayor DeBoscos, pardon me, has some questions.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Aaron, for your presentation, for your hard work. Mr. Du Bois, thank you for your service as chairman on the committee. Over the course of the last couple of years, we sure have heard a lot about inflation and the cost of projects, and over the last several months, we haven't heard so much about that. Are you about to spring a whole bunch of big projects on us? Or are things going a little bit more better? How's it going?
You know, I think we're still going to have that problem. I think it's an incessant problem. I don't think that's going away. I think one of the things that have helped address that is, of course, some of the funds that the council has allocated from the general fund had met some of the shortfalls. Also, a number of the projects, just by the very nature of the project, has tended to take longer time, and so I think that's stretched out a little bit. So we're not actually in the situation where we're actually having to put the money down. So I think it's out there. I think it's hidden, and I think it's going to raise its ugly head again when time comes to allocate the funds. I don't think inflation's going away at all.
City Manager Caton, I see you squirreling in your chair over there.
I did. Anytime we talk about budget, I get interested. So, Madam Mayor and Vice Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to say a few words. What I would add to the discussion is we have added a process for our city system as we move forward our capital projects, and specifically a capital review team, and that was instituted shortly after the Budget Review Committee had discussions in the spring and implemented in May of this year. And we've used it in twofold. First of all, for 25-26 budgeted projects, we have what was referred to as a readiness form, and that is cross-departmental, led by Allison Timku's team and City Manager's office. We really see if it's ready. As you probably are not surprised, we have a significant list of capital projects, and every department wants them to get started July 2nd. We don't quite have the resources to kick those off, so we really look at spreading those resources throughout the fiscal year. The second significant component of this capital review team is to look to projects as we look in the outer years to see if they are ready. And I have a poster child project as an example. That's a bond project. It was the Cactus Pool. And I remember in our discussions through the proposal of 25-26, we talked about the estimated cost. I think it was approximately $31 million that was estimated back in 2017 and then proposed in the 2019. And there was discussion if this was likely going to be on target, and the answer was unequivocally no. So what we are instituting in many projects in advance of funding the full project cost is a feasibility study, a scope, something of that nature, and we have embarked on that for this specific project and a number of other projects to really understand, is this the best location? I'll just use Cactus Pool as a good example. Is there an alternative location that might present an alternative for council's consideration? So that's a good example, and let's just say hypothetically after the feasibility it comes back and says it's $50 million. Then we come to City Council, which I'm used to budgeting, and we bring $31 million worth of bond, and then we present options up front on how to fill that gap. I understand that is very different than our historical process. I think we've kind of funded the 31 and then would kind of add over multiple years until we got to a 50 number. We'll know that up front before we initiate a project after intense and in-depth scope and feasibility. So thank you for the opportunity to add a few comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions, so thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Next, we have Human Relations Commission, and I see Kelly Corsett, staff representative, and Chairwoman Tina Drews. Thank you for being here. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, for the opportunity to talk about the Scottsdale Human Relations Commission. And if we could just go to the first slide, we'll go over the purpose and makeup of the commission. The Human Relations Commission was established by city ordinance in 2000, and their primary purpose is to advocate and promote all dimensions of diversity as stated in that ordinance. They act as an advisory body to the mayor, city council, and to staff, and they will make recommendations on ways to encourage mutual respect and understanding among people, to discourage prejudice and discrimination, and to work towards cultural awareness and unity. And the commission, per its purpose, may also make recommendations as to special events. Next slide, please. The makeup of the commission is 7 residents appointed by the mayor and city council, who collectively shall be broadly representative of the diverse demographics of the community. So no particular professional expertise in any areas, just 7 residents who are willing to step up and serve on the commission. And with that, I'll hand it over to Chair Tina Drews to go over some of the accomplishments and upcoming challenges. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Kelly, and good evening, Mayor and City Council. As chair of the Human Relations Commission, I am honored to be able to share some of our accomplishments and some of our challenges. So this last year, we heard quite a bit about many actions around the state and nationally regarding impacts to diversity, equity, and inclusion. With all of that work, we proceeded with creating a new strategic plan, recognizing the changes environmentally. So our strategic plan moving forward focuses really in 4 areas. Many of them are focused on community. So you'll see community partnerships and collaboration, outreach, resources, communication, and then finally an area focusing on accountability and metrics, which we know is important moving forward. As we talk about some of the upcoming challenges and opportunities on the next slide, I would like to express some of my concern about the growing disconnect between the City Council and the Human Relations Commission, most notably the passage of Ordinance 4662. So despite its significant implications for equity and inclusion, the Commission was not consulted regarding this ordinance. This omission not only, I believe, undermines our advisory role, which is through our ordinance, but also diminishes the value of our commission. When the council bypasses the commission on matters of such importance, I believe it sends a message that the voices that we represent, the residents, and the expertise we offer are not valued by the council. The lack of engagement risks eroding public trust in the value of commissions and has lowered the morale among our commissioners that serve on the Human Relations Commission, and in our opinion, weakens the city's broader efforts to foster an inclusive community. I respectfully urge that the mayor and council re-engage with the Human Relations Commission as a proactive partner in shaping Scottsdale's future. We know, and you know, that our city is strongest when we lead collaboratively with transparency and inclusion at the forefront. I appreciate your time to share this evening.
Thank you. Councilwoman McAllen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Corset, and thank you, Tina. I have attended some of your meetings. I thank you for what you do, standing up for all the citizens of Scottsdale. I do feel that you're a valuable commission, and please know that I understand it was very brave of you to come here and to tell the council what you just said. And I appreciate that you're sharing not just your views of the entire commission, and for all of you to band together and bring that to the council. Sometimes it's not easy to be up here and hear things constructively said the way you want or the way we want, right, as a council. We don't want any citizens to feel that they're not being represented. So I just want to thank you for what you do and continue to represent all the citizens of Scottsdale. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I'm sure that was a little difficult to come and reprimand us a little bit, although the residents don't have any problem at all reprimanding us. But I will say that, that was done quite a while ago, and I always look forward, and I think your remarks, I like what you guys have, your 4 priorities, or I can't remember the word you used, and I do think that this council will engage, and I certainly will, because community is a good focus, and community is, in fact, all of us. So thank you.
Thank you. So I voted in favor of that measure, but I appreciate your comments, and I couldn't agree more with you. That agenda item was quickly, I would say, after doing that, and so I think you raised an excellent point, and I appreciate you saying that. I do think probably could have done better in terms of serving that up, and been a little more better thought out. So I appreciate your comments completely.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I just want to clarify that this statement was written by me. I did not necessarily have it approved by my commissioners. These sentiments, though, are based on many conversations over the last 6 months. So
yeah, it sounded like it was delivered in a good spirit. So I think that's all good. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your work and continued efforts. And with that, we're going to move on to the last commission, which is the Transportation Commission. And this evening we have Nathan Dahm, staff representative. And instead of the chair, Mary Ann Miller, we have, oh, you're here. Oh, good. I thought you weren't here. But we've got 2 for the price of 1. So we've got the vice chair, Carrie Wilcoxon, and chair, Mary Ann Miller. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Borowski and members of the council. Yes, we have 2 for the price of 1 because Chair Miller is up in October, and so we thought it was appropriate to have Vice Chair Wilcoxon, who will be stepping in as chair, to sit on this as well. So I will go right into the next slide. So we're introducing both the commission and our subcommittee tonight, so we'll have a little bit longer of a presentation than most of the other ones tonight. So our commission was created in 1988, consists of 7 members appointed by the council. The Transportation Commission shall advise the City Council on matters related to safe and efficient movement of motor vehicles, public transportation, which includes but is not limited to pedestrians, bicycles, equestrians, trail users upon designated paths and trails, streets, and all elements of the transportation network in the city. Those are mostly done through 2 major components that we go in front of the commission for on a regular basis, which is the Transportation Master Plan in accordance with the community mobility elements of the general plan, and then also the city's capital improvement program and its operating budget for transportation. Another important component of our commission is that it's a public forum for citizens to request transportation changes and any other transportation matters that they feel should come up. Then our Paths and Trails Subcommittee, which was created in 2009 following the Trails Master Plan, consists of 5 members also appointed by the council. The Paths and Trails Subcommittee provides its recommendations to the Transportation Commission and shall review plan modifications and improvements to sidewalks, bike paths, bike lanes, bike routes, equestrian paths, bicycle facilities, bike facilities, and equestrian facilities, except those within the McDowell-Norton Center where they already have their commission. Next slide, please. So our major accomplishments with the Transportation Commission and the major actions taken. In 2022, we adopted the Transportation Action Plan, and so through the course of the years afterwards, we've been trying to implement those sections. The Transportation Commission has also reviewed several projects, including the Jackrabbit Miller pedestrian crossing, which has been completed, the 124th and Shea Underpass, which has also been completed now, and the Hayden Miller Road Bridge and Rawhide Wash Flood Control Project, which has also just been completed. So 3 major capital projects that have been completed and reviewed by the Transportation Commission. And then another one of their major tasks is reviewing neighborhood traffic management, the neighborhood traffic management program exception approval, as well as the approval of the construction. So when a resident sees a concern for speeding in their neighborhood, we have a policy and a standard operating procedure with our traffic engineering group to review that, study it, and then come in with recommendations. On multiple occasions. This was that put a fence along the which is permanent as well as the Transportation Commission. Next slide, please. The Paths and Trails Subcommittee's major accomplishments was also the Transportation Action Plan, also capital projects, reviewing it for non-motorized improvements. Last year, we had several presentations and conversations about the Desert Foothills Trail Expansion Project. There was also a citizen petition and looking for ways to accommodate their concerns and add those trails, which have now been implemented with revisions based on the concerns from the residents. And then unpaved trail easement review. When a citizen up north has concerns about the trail easements, this is a body that they can take it up in front of and suggest their concerns or whether we should release those easements or maintain those easements. And then the ever-going conversation about the paths and trails network gap analysis. Next slide, please. And so opportunities and challenges upcoming is also the Transportation Safety Plan, the local area infrastructure plan update, and then the unpaved trail expansions and improvements that we bring to them every once in a while. Next slide. So that completes my conversation. Oh, yes, please.
I'd just like to add, I started on the Transportation Commission when Councilmember Graham was chair. He taught me everything that I know. Thank you. It has been an honor to serve for 6 years. The members of the commission have varied backgrounds, but a wide range of interest in transportation and planning and safety and making sure that Scottsdale residents have the best opportunities and options for moving around this city as safely as they can. You know, we started the safety action plan this year, and I will leave that in the great hands of Vice Chair Wilcoxon. Also want to comment that the members of the commission also live throughout Scottsdale, so we have input from South Scottsdale and North Scottsdale, and a wonderful wide range, and thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
That's great. Did you want to add anything?
Madam Mayor, Council, I appreciate the opportunity to serve, and I'm going to be filling some big shoes when Mary Ann leaves, but I've worked on both sides of the public sector, staff, and now commission, and it's a great system, and I appreciate all the help that our staff have given us and continue to give us, and all the support from the City Council members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman McAllen.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say thank you, Nathan, and I see Susan up there too, and Allison. Thank you so much, and to the other staff members, and to both of you for serving. I love the bringing in, deepening the bench, making sure you're prepared, and obviously from Councilman Graham. I served on the Paths and Trails Subcommittee. 3 of the 4 plans that you talked about tonight that have been completed, we voted on, and that is so exciting. I know it's years later, but it takes a while, and I know how hard you guys work and how much people expect out of you. So many aspects of transportation. So I just want to say thank you for what you do, and I'm actually kind of a transportation nerd, and I really love all that you're doing. And
consider applying in the future or other commissions? Because I think this is the end of your 2 terms, correct? So, the Jackrabbit Miller, that was a good project. That was a very good project. 124th Street and the bridge didn't go well the first time around, but we got it done the second time, right?
Yes. Why we brought it back to commission was...
Yeah.
Yep.
Miller Hayden. So you guys do a lot of important work, and thank you for reporting to us. And good luck, Vice Chair Wilcoxon.
Thank you. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm going to circle back to, we did receive 2 petitions earlier this evening, and we're going to look at directing the city manager to agendize these for further discussion, or direct the city manager to investigate the matter and prepare a written response to the council with a copy to the petitioner, or take no action. First, I'll turn to the petition to the city council to investigate parking management and preservation of the old Adobe Mission area. I believe the crux of this petition was to agendize a parking study. Is that right? Do I have that right? Yeah, I might. Okay. So does anyone, I'm going to go ahead before I make a transition. I'm going to make the motion that we, this is an issue that's come up a couple of times, and I, for one, would love to see it agendized to a future council meeting, but at a minimum, direct the city manager to investigate the matter and prepare a written response to council. But I'm going to go with number 1, direct the city manager to agendize the petition for further discussion as my motion. Do I hear any seconds?
So I'm happy to second it because this keeps coming up, although I think we're going to end up with 2, and I'll be satisfied with that. But this has just been an issue that has come up again and again, and it does seem worthy of I don't know, if a work study session just to talk about whether we need a parking study, because we're relying on one that's quite old. So that's my not very strong second, but thank you, Mayor, for making the motion.
Councilman Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. Please allow me to make an alternate motion to direct the city manager to investigate the matter and prepare a written response to the council with a copy to the petitioner. Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, we'll vote on the alternate motion first. All those in favor? I mean, I'm going to vote no because I want this agendized, but if that's the best we can do, I'm in favor of it. Matter and written response to ask for is to have staff either have it agendized for further discussion or direct staff to investigate and prepare a written response to the council or take no action. Vice Mayor DeBoscus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I spoke with the petitioner about this yesterday, and I confirmed with her that she would like us to direct the city manager to investigate it and prepare a written response. So I'll make a motion to do so.
I'll second that. All those in favor, please indicate your vote. All right, thank you very much. Ben, City Clerk, did you have some things to say?
Oh, thank you, Mayor. I just want to mention on the Board and Commission presentations, that actually completes the presentations. Just a brief recap, we started this back in July. 18 boards and commissions have presented before the council since that time. Your feedback and your suggestions were really appreciated. So that actually ends the process for this year. And on the October 21st agenda, it will be a consent item for you all to consider approval of all the Board and Commission reports for the 2024 year. So thank you again for all the feedback. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. I thought that was well done, so appreciate you scheduling those. Next, we have item 18, which is also under mayor and council items, and this was at my request, to agendize review of possible call for an election and proposed ballot language for a March 2026 special election. And I'm requesting the council support the idea of directing City Clerk Ben Lane to agendize an item for discussion and possible council action on October 7th, 2025 at our next regular council meeting to consider draft ballot language for the referendum petition serial number REF-01-2024 and a resolution calling for a March 10th, 2026 special election. And I'd like to expand on why I've asked to have this added to the mayor and council items this evening. On September 18th, 2025, the city manager issued a report on the citizens petition that had been delivered to the city council, I think it was back in July, regarding the Axon referendum election. I trust my colleagues have all had an opportunity to read that September 18th report from the city manager. The information in the report, in my opinion, I would have preferred much to have that earlier, 230 days earlier, after the petition, the referendum was certified back in January of 2025. And for the record, to prove I'm persistent, I'm back again to talk about this because I feel strongly about it. Since last April, I've been asking, or there's been requests for discussion from community members also to have a council discussion on the Axon referendum. Those discussions have been opposed by the majority of the council, and I am once again requesting that we direct the city clerk and interim city attorney to issue a call for election and proposed ballot language related to the Axon referendum petition, which would set a March 10th, 2026 special election to be considered for our consideration on October 7th at the next council meeting. The referendum petitions were received in December, verified January 28th, 2025, and ultimately certified by the city clerk on January 30th, 2025. The first opportunity we would have had to hold the election would have been May 20th, 2025, which certainly raises questions for me. Primarily, why wasn't the council notified immediately of our options about possible dates for the election? And why did it take until a July citizens petition to trigger a report with the information that was clearly available back when that was certified? Glendale, as I've talked about before, I think up here, has had the exact same situation as us, with a petition referendum submitted to their council in December 2024, and their election was in fact held on May 2025. Our residents and voters deserved a far speedier resolution, and so did Axon, a major business in this community. So I'm not sure what happened here. The petition to hold an election allowing voters to decide the fate of the Axon project has now been delayed for almost 2 years if we wait until November of 2026. Had we scheduled, this is a really important fact, hindsight is always way clearer. Had we scheduled a May 2025 election, Axon would have not yet been to the state legislature, and even if they had been seeking relief from the legislature, I certainly doubt that the state legislature would have been so bold as to interfere with an already scheduled city election. And I think we could have saved ourselves a lot of grief and not dealt with that had we had a timely election in May. I bring this up now again because October 13th is our final deadline for the city council to call a special election and approve ballot language so that we can finally let our voters, I think there were 26,000 people who signed petitions, finally let our voters have a say in the an earlier election on March 10th. We are running out of time, I think, and patience for voters that want to resolve this issue once and for all. I think our residents and our voters deserve the opportunity to vote on the biggest issue that's come before this council in a very long time, certainly on the newer members' clock, that's for sure. And I'm sure I'm going to hear from council colleagues that have said a number of times that this is disenfranchising the voters, that these are lesser attended or lesser participating elections. I just want to point out before that discussion lights fire that if it's okay for our general plan to go before voters during a special election, it sure seems like it'd be okay to put the biggest issue, not only in Scottsdale, certainly of 2025, but outside of Scottsdale also, not that they'll be voting in our election. But certainly, I, for one, think it's nonsense that our residents have not been given the opportunity to vote on such a big issue that has divided our community to a degree that I don't think we've seen, at least not as long as I've been around City Hall. And importantly, it's unfair to those residents that took their time to sign the petitions, and it is definitely, in my estimation, unfair to Axon to have been in limbo for far too long. So with that, I would make a motion to agendize this discussion for October 7th. I think I've said, what the content is for that agenda item, and I hope my colleagues will support me.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you.
May I speak to my?
Yes, of course.
Yes, I think that this process, first of all, I agree with everything the mayor said. I think this process has exposed loopholes, so to speak. So when a city council votes on an item and the public disagrees, they're restricted in how much time they have to get out there, collect petition signatures, and justify a referendum. But what we found out through this process is the elected officials don't have any such constraints. So the assumption, and we know how those go, when our city clerk verified that sufficient signatures were collected for the process, the assumption would be that, like the city of Glendale, the voters that signed that and the voters that didn't sign it would have an opportunity to have their voices heard in May. And that didn't happen. And the argument then was cost, but of course we've seen costs. We've seen contracts written with expensive attorneys that don't even have caps for for challenging laws. So I don't think cost is really an issue. And then along comes November. We could have had this referendum go to the November election with minimal costs. Well, that didn't happen. And so once again, we're looking at the next available date, and we're hearing about costs. But again, if costs were an issue, then the anonymously funded PAC that is pushing for this to be in November, if they were concerned about costs, maybe they wouldn't sue the city of Scottsdale for a law that every one of us opposed. So I do support this. The longer this drags on, the more division we create in our community, and the more money attorneys get, from what I can tell. So I support putting the election in March. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. The constitutional election for November 2026 is the date that 27,000 Scottsdale residents who signed the referendum petition were led to believe it would be held. Altering the date to a non-constitutional date, such as March, is the date lobbyists have persuaded some up here to support. The voter referendum on Axon's rezoning is statutorily scheduled for November 26. That's the date that when signers signed the petition were led to believe it would occur. And some people have come and spoken to us asking or saying if we don't schedule it for March 2026, then we can't get it or it won't happen. And that's untrue. It is scheduled constitutionally, statutorily for November 2026. Holding an early taxpayer-funded special election raises serious concerns such as reduced voter turnout. As you may know, special elections draw much lower turnout, typically 20 to 40% for a March election that you would get in a general election. And what does this mean? This means that a minority of voters would decide the fate of Axon's 1900 apartment project instead of a majority if it was held at the date that signers of the petition expected. I believe such a transformative project demands maximum participation to reflect the will of this community. Another major concern with altering the scheduling of the referendum is the exclusionary voting process. March special elections rely solely on mail-in ballots, and they exclude residents who prefer or rely on in-person voting. This risks undermining equitable access to the democratic process. It's troubling that some advocating for a special election also opposed or failed to support legal action against Senate Bill 1543, which you know as the Axon Bill, and signed by Governor Hobbs. That legislation attempts to nullify Scottsdale's referendum backed by 27,000 voters, raising questions about whether an early election prioritizes corporate interest or your interests. Additionally, critics of an estimated $600,000 to $800,000 of legal cost to fund a lawsuit to defend your voting rights overlook that a special election in March would cost nearly $700,000, non-recoverable expense borne by taxpayers. Their selective focus on costs ignores the broader threat to our democratic process. So in summary, the Axon referendum is scheduled and statutorily set for November 2026, and altering that scheduling risks disenfranchising voters and eroding your trust in Scottsdale's governance. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Littlefield.
Thank you, Mayor. Oddly enough, I have very much the same points that Mr. Graham gave. This is statutorily scheduled for November, for the November election, and that's what people voted to do, was to have it put on the ballot at that time. If you put it in a March election, you have a special election for one issue. That's extremely expensive for that issue. You're going to pay that $700,000 additional fee to hold a special election for this, which is already scheduled for a different election and will be held on that election. Also, a March election will be mail-in ballot only. Traditionally, when you have a single item on the election ballot, and it's only a mail-in ballot, you have a much lower turnout from your citizens for that election. It's just the way it is. It's the numbers that add up and don't add up. So you're disenfranchising folks, in effect, to vote on this issue, and that's not correct to do. The cost to the city, $700,000 minimum. All mail-in ballot, you can't go to the polls and vote because there will be no polls. And you'll have a lower turnout, a lesser result of the election if you do an all mail-in ballot. That's just historically what happens, and it's factual. It's not particularly for this election, it's just any mail-in ballot election has a lower result. People fill out the ballot and they forget to mail it in. It just happens. I will not vote for this because I believe statutorily we are obligated to hold this ballot question to our citizens in the November ballot. That's where it's set up to be, that's where it should be, that's where citizens should go and vote for it. You'll have a higher turnout because it's a November election. You'll have many issues on that ballot. This will just be one of them. And you'll have a higher return on the issue by the citizens of Scottsdale, which is the point of holding the election in the first place. So I think I will not be voting for a March ballot. This should go on the November ballot, as is statutorily required. Thank you.
Councilwoman McAllen.
Thank you, Mayor. I, for one, am going to be voting to have the special election. I trust that the citizens know how to mail their ballot in and that they will vote the way they wish to. And that's not up to us. Who votes, when they vote, I trust the citizens of Scottsdale to make their own choice. They signed the referendum, they should be allowed to vote. And the sooner we put it on the ballot, the better.
Councilman Graham.
Mayor, thank you. During my comments, I forgot to make an alternate motion. And so I'll probably just motion to number 3, take no action, because I think that's probably, I don't city manager, is there anything to investigate and report? I don't see that as an appropriate. Yeah. So I'll motion for number 3 to take no action. Thank you, Mayor.
I'll second that.
So I'm going to say a few words. So I think it would be helpful to have the city manager and the city attorney return a report to us to correct all the misstatements that we just heard from Councilman Graham, namely that statutorily we're required to do it in November 2026. He said something along those lines, but that's absolutely false. We could have scheduled it already 2 times previously, and that's by default. If we take no action, which there's been a complete resistance to taking any action, you're seeing it here again play out tonight. And the other interesting comment was that voters were led to believe, that couldn't be any more vague, that would take place in November of 2026. Well, I'll bet if we would have invited them out to the polls over the 2 times we already had the opportunity to do so, or in March where the city advertises the election, they'd come out and vote. And I really, honestly, to Councilwoman McCallan's point, I take exception with how much the comments have discredited the will of our voters by saying they won't mail it in, they won't know, they were led to believe it's going to be 2 years from the date they signed the petition. I just am not buying that. Interestingly, as I was parking my car here at City Hall, I was listening to the Chris and Joe show on KTAR, the only station I listen to, right? Very exciting life I lead. And they were talking about how our elected officials, they really don't want to hear from us. They really don't want to hear from the residents. They don't want to hear from the voters unless it's time for their reelection and they're raising money and they're looking for votes. Well, it just so happens that there is a reelection campaign coming up for 2 members of our city council. And, I don't know how this plays out, but the head of TASE is rumored to be running for election to an available seat. So I question the genuine nature of stating that our voters will not turn out for this significant issue if we move up the election. And that's all I have to say. Councilman Crosby.
The November 2nd, 2021 special election voter turnout rate for the general plan was 29.75%.
Thanks for that update. Councilwoman Whitehead.
I just wanted to add one more thing. This does not preclude continued negotiations. My colleague likes to talk about 1,900 apartments. That's been off the table for a long time. So we're elected to solve problems. We have an opportunity to solve problems. So why in the world would we sue the state of Arizona when all they're going to do, the legislature, they'll just rewrite the law? There's no winning other than losing millions of dollars. So we're all up here to solve a problem. If Mr. Graham doesn't like 1,900 apartments, and then let's get to work. Let's bring that number down. And so I do want to stress that it's on all of us to get that done. And to to Councilman, soon-to-be Vice Mayor Quasman's point, Vice Mayor Quasman's point, that yes, the lower turnout is true in these off-year elections. But listen, all the bond projects that we're enjoying, that was an off-year election too. So it's, democracy isn't a perfect art, but we get things done. So thank you for the added time.
Councilman Graham.
I know the city attorney wants to talk, and my point is going to be very brief. We're obviously off topic. We need to wrap this conversation up. So there's a motion on the table. There's an alternate motion on the table that we'll start with a vote on. And, it's couple comments were made, Councilmember Whitehead, about, they'll just go ahead, the legislature will just go ahead and rewrite it. They're not going to do that if somebody sues them and they get called out and it's proven unconstitutional. A few other indecorous comments were made about political speculation that I regret to hear my colleagues say. So I'll leave it at that, and I really hope we can begin voting now.
Luis, City Attorney.
Mayor and members of the council, it sounds like your discussion has concluded, but I did want to caution you all that you got quite off topic. So there's limited things you can do on an item like that, and just to remind you all.
Okay, we're going to vote on the alternate motion before we misbehave anymore. Thank you for that. Voting on the alternate motion, which reminding me is to do nothing. My colleagues, do nothing. I'm going to vote no on do nothing. All right, doing nothing passes. So thank you very much, and that concludes that agenda item. And moving right along, we have a work study session. Let's see here. Next, we have the work study session, which, as always, provides a less formal setting for mayor and council to discuss specific topics with each other and city staff, and provide staff an opportunity to receive direction from the council. To provide an opportunity for public input, yet continue to maximize the amount of time available for the council to have focused discussions. Spoken comment is accepted on tonight's work study, although I don't have any, so we'll move right along. Presenting tonight on the topic is Scottsdale, and that is the Financial and Capital Improvement Plan update on the preliminary 2025 fiscal year results. Scott and Allison Timke will be presenting. Hi, Scott. Thank you. Welcome.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Very happy to be here tonight to provide a preliminary financial update for the fiscal year 24-25, which just ended on June 30. Quick introduction. The figures that you're going to look at today reflect the totals as of the third close of fiscal year 2025. What you're looking at right now is the timeline for the year-end financial report. We're currently at the preliminary results step in the timeline. I'll just briefly cover the remaining steps here. From September to November, we anticipate the year-end audit. The plan is to go to the audit committee in December of 2025 and to the City Council for the final year-end report in January. This slide shows the year-end closing process. Right now, the Treasurer's Office is wrapping up the year-end closing entries. We will be proceeding through all the other steps listed on this slide during the upcoming weeks and months. This slide has some high-level, big-picture general fund takeaways. We'll take a look at some specific numbers in the upcoming slides. For revenues, we saw moderate growth across most of our sales tax categories and a significant decline in the rental category. I will add that this decline was expected as a result of the statewide elimination of the residential rental taxation, which became effective on January 1st of this year. State shared income tax showed a significant reduction, but again, I would add an expected reduction from last year due to the implementation of the flat tax, a decline in estimated tax payments, and loss of large capital gains tax revenue that was realized in fiscal year 23-24. Property tax revenues declined due to the impact of the Quasi-Meyer lawsuit, which I believe you're all familiar with. And then looking at the expenditure side, overall the expenditures were 2% below budget. This slide shows our sales tax revenue broken out by category in a bit more detail. Before I start talking about the numbers, I want to orient you to the table that's on here because you'll see several others like it throughout the presentation. We have our categories, sales tax categories on the left. The first column is the fiscal year 23-24 actuals. The next column is the 25 actuals, the fiscal year that just ended. The third column is the percentage change year over year. The next column, the fourth column, is the fiscal year 24-25 budgeted amount for those categories. The fifth column, the budget variance column, compares the actuals to the budget, where a positive number indicates a positive budget variance. And conversely, a negative number indicates a negative budget variance. And then the last column is the budget variance percentage. And of course, we have the totals at the bottom. This table format is the same that you'll see in some upcoming slides. So the table on this slide breaks down the sales tax revenues into the various categories that we track. Most of our categories showed some growth. The major exception was the rental category as a result of the statewide elimination of residential rental. This was expected and incorporated into our budget. I just call your attention to the rental category in the budget variance column, which shows that we had a positive budget variance of $800,000 roughly, indicating that this decline was expected. We do have some findings listed in the bullets here. There were some large one-time payments in automotive, construction, and retail categories. Construction and retail showed some solid base growth. And then year over year, our sales tax revenue, I'd call your attention to the total line at the bottom, showed a 2% increase. This slide summarizes the state shared revenues and primary property tax. State shared income tax showed a significant year-over-year decline as a result of the flat tax implementation and loss of capital gains revenue. This again was expected and budgeted for in the budget variance column. For state shared income tax, we show a positive variance of about $200,000. We did see slight budget gains in both the state shared sales tax and the state shared vehicle tax categories. For vehicle tax, highway user revenues came in, it performed better than we had originally anticipated. Overall, state shared revenues showed a budget gain of $1.5 million and 1%. Moving down to primary property tax, we showed both a year-over-year and a budget variance that was a negative due to the Quagmire decision that I believe you're all familiar with. This resulted in a negative budget variance of about $6 million. This slide shows the charges for service categories. Just looking at the total at the bottom, we showed a total positive budget variance of $4.3 million in fiscal year 2025. We have some sub-bullets that provide some noteworthy context for this variance. The fire insurance premium tax came in higher than budgeted. We had some facility rental fees for Westworld that came in higher than budgeted due to some timing issues with when we received the payments. And then finally, we did recover some revenue from vendors for damage to the Westworld facility. This slide shows an overall summary of the general fund revenue in fiscal year 24-25. Calling your attention to the total row at the bottom here, we collected $454.5 million, which is a slight decline compared to last year. Compared to what we had budgeted, however, we show a 3% gain, and the only significant budget loss on the categories on this slide was in the property tax category, which we discussed previously. Moving over to the expenditure side, this slide examines our FY 24-25 expenditures. We have the preliminary total expenditures shown by category in this table. We'll go to the subtotal line, which shows the expenditures by category excluding transfers out, which I will get to in a moment. These are, on the subtotal line, we spent a total of $377.9 million against a budget of $385.2, which is a positive variance of 2%. So going down to the transfers outline, the reason that it is so under budget, showing such a large positive variance, is because certain transfers to the capital improvement plan had not yet happened as of the third close, and these transfers will occur before the final close. So you'll see that budget variance resolve itself. This slide takes the general fund division expenditures, takes the expenditures and splits them up by division. We'll just go to the total line here. I'll emphasize that we show an overall positive budget variance again of about 7.3 million, which is about 2%. I believe that brings me to the end. I'd be happy to entertain any questions that you all might have.
Councilman Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, good presentation. Can you go back to the slide showing that our revenues are 8%, sales tax collections are 8%? So the biggest driver of that, looking at this, would be retail sales collections, followed by automotive. You know, I guess I kind of wanted to maybe just get a little bit on a soapbox for a second because, you know, I know we never want to overestimate revenues, but 8% is kind of a big underestimation, especially because I know our expenses are not as high as they should have been. You know, when you have an 8% revenue under, or I guess windfall, you can't budget. You can't, there's inadequate budget planning because if you had those resources in mind, if you were closer to like a 2 or 3%, then you know you have those resources and you can start planning your investments. You can start applying for grants because you think you have more revenue. And then, you know, this kind of has happened for several years. It's just what ends up happening is when you underestimate revenue, you get into a reactive financial management scenario at the end of the year. And so what do you do with it because you have all this extra money? It can affect grants and other investments. It can delay projects. It can, we can miss out on critical projects because we didn't think we were going to have the revenue. So I just, 8%, I mean, I know these numbers, I know it's an estimate, I know it's a projection, but, and I'm really kind of talking to Sonia, not you, Scott, but it's, the other thing I was going to ask is, can you go to the shared revenue slide? I thought that we kind of knew these numbers 2 years in advance, and I think that they're all positive, so what I'm thinking is that it was more than what they told us. Is that correct?
Mayor, Councilmember Graham, we only know the income tax 2 years in advance. The state shared sales tax and vehicle license tax are collected and remitted real time, basically.
Oh, same year.
So it's only the income tax that we know ahead of time. So that's why we have a 0% variance.
And then if you go to, thank you, Sonia. If you go to enterprise, Scott, I mean, you know, it's 25%. It's, you know, I'm happy about it. Like, don't hear me the wrong way. Like, I don't want to see nobody wants to see, the worst thing we could do is budget revenues and it's way less. I get that. That's the worst thing, especially from a budget, director. But 25%, I mean, and I know that these aren't huge numbers, but it's like, you can really plan, as far as grants, as far as your capital expenditures, your investments, you can really, if you just, so what I'm trying to do is just raise awareness that it's not all, rainbows and butterflies. Like there's a cost when you underestimate your revenues. And I know it's an art as much of a science. And so I'll give you the last word, Sonia, and then I'll be done with my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilmember Graham. I appreciate those comments, and we will definitely look at our forecasting process and do a better job with projecting our revenues. However, that said, I also want to point out one fact is if you go to the slide that shows our total revenues in the general fund, despite the fact that our sales tax is higher by 8%, this slide shows local taxes, which includes other taxes like franchise fees and such, and that's why that number is 7%. And despite the fact that our charges and services are 25% over budget, we do have a negative 16% in our property tax category. So in total, for the general fund, we're really only 3% over budget. in terms of total revenues. So I hear ya, I understand, and we will definitely take a look at how we project revenues and do a better job and make sure we try to come closer. But for last year, we're kind of glad we came in over budget in those categories because it cushioned and offset the big negative in the property tax. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman McAllen.
Thank you, Mayor. Scott, I do not know what slide it is, but it's the one where you're talking about it's off so much because of the funds were reimbursed after the third quarter. It's the 40%.
That was the transfer.
That was a transfer.
Yeah.
That's the timing.
So,
What was this the slide you're speaking of?
the
transfers.
Yeah.
This one? Yes.
Yes, that's it. So I just want to clarify that you said that once it comes through in the finals, that it'll be closer to 2%?
Madam Mayor, Councilwoman McAllen, that's correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see any other speakers. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate it. And I believe we are, Allison.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. I have the CIP update for you, and it's a video highlighting a few of our current and recently completed capital projects.
Welcome to Investing in Our Scottsdale quarterly recap, highlighting projects from Scottsdale's capital improvement program. Water campus expansion. Scottsdale Water is building a new 19,000 square foot, single-story water quality laboratory building at the water campus adjacent to the existing administration building. The current laboratory was built in 1997, and the new facility will help ensure Scottsdale always has access to the cleanest, safest water possible. Improvements in water quality testing require new tests and equipment, more testing staff, and additional reporting, which the new lab will facilitate. To support the new laboratory building, the existing visitor parking lot will be enhanced to include additional spaces and a second entrance off Wallapai Drive. Construction is underway, and the $23.6 million project is scheduled to be complete in the fall of 2026. Pima Road redevelopment and expansion. Pima Road is a vital connector for nearly 12,000 daily drivers linking neighborhoods, businesses, and regional freeways across Scottsdale. A powerful partnership between the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian Community, the Maricopa County Flood Control District, and the City of Scottsdale is paving the way for much-needed upgrades to a critical stretch of Pima Road, from McDowell Road north to Via Linda. Construction began in October of 2024 on the $74.2 million project that will expand roadway capacity to ease congestion and improve daily commutes, enhance pedestrian and bicycle access, and modernize vital flood control infrastructure. The project is made possible by a $49.8 million grant awarded to SRP MIC in 2019 through the nationally significant Federal Lands and Tribal Projects Program. The City of Scottsdale is also contributing to this effort as one of many funding partners on the project. With construction continuing through the winter of 2026, the project promises long-term benefits for all who live, work, and travel in the area. Old Town Pavement Improvement Project. Scottsdale is making a major investment to improve the quality and condition of streets, alleyways, and parking lots in Old Town. When complete, business owners, residents, and visitors will enjoy a smoother and safer driving experience and enhanced curb appeal. The work covers nearly 374,000 square yards of asphalt and includes a range of surface treatments like fog sealing, micro sealing, and mill and overlay improvements. Accessibility is also a top priority. New ADA ramps are being installed, and many existing ramps are being upgraded to meet today's standards. This $7 million project kicked off in June of 2025 and will continue through October, with work carefully phased to reduce the impact on the community. To minimize disruptions to Old Town businesses, much of the work is being done overnight. McCormick Stillman Splash Pad and Roundhouse. Just in time for its 50th birthday, new amenities were unveiled at McCormick Stillman Railroad Park this summer. Totaling $11.8 million, the improvements were designed to add features to the park to boost attendance during the summer months. The Roundhouse, a massive 10,000 square foot indoor play space, features a one-of-a-kind locomotive-shaped climbing structure, perfect for summer fun and air-conditioned relief. A 5,000 square foot splash pad provides an opportunity for kids to cool off in an interactive water zone built for adventure. A redesigned entry plaza provides shaded seating, new pathways, vibrant landscaping, and public art. The improvements will help ensure the Railroad Park's next 50 years are even brighter. Fire Station 612. Scottsdale's newest fire station is officially open and serving the community. Fire Station 612 began operations in September on the northeast corner of Hayden Road and Mayo Boulevard. With an anticipated workload of over 2,000 incidents each year, Station 612 plays a vital role in improving emergency response times for this growing area. The 12,000 square foot station is staffed by a 4-person engine company and a 2-person battalion chief unit. It also houses a wildland interface fire attack vehicle and a utility support vehicle, ready for a range of emergencies. The station includes 4 apparatus bays, sleeping quarters for 12, a full kitchen, dining area, and day room, personal protective equipment storage, an OSHA-compliant decontamination area, a physical fitness area, locker rooms and bathrooms, a backup generator and laundry facilities, as well as office, meeting space, and public art. The new building is being constructed to include LEED standards and green building code measures where practical, and is intended to be a high-performance facility. The $13.7 million project was funded by voters in the 2019 bond election and ensures our first responders have the resources and support they need to respond effectively to keep our communities safe. And that concludes the latest highlights of capital projects in our community. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Vice Mayor DeBoscus.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Allison. I love these videos. I think in the past we have asked for budget to actuals. Where is that?
Can you pull up the slide for the budget to actuals, please?
You were prepared. Thank you.
Oh, no. I think I can just put it on the... You switched to the Elmo. Can you see that?
A little bigger.
You got it. Thanks. Thank you.
Can you talk us through it?
Oh, sure. Okay, so the first project that we highlighted was the Water Campus Administrative Building Expansion, the regulatory lab. The total project budget is $23.6 million, and the funds spent to date are $22.1 million, with a remaining budget of $21.5 million, and that was funded by water rates. The next project is the Old Town pavement improvements, and our total budget for the Old Town area is $7 million. And so far, work has been proceeding, but we actually haven't paid any invoices. They're starting to come in, and we're starting to make payments on those. So again, remaining budget right now is $7 million, and that's funded by the transportation sales tax 0.2%. We have the McCormick-Stillman Roundhouse project, and that was $11.8 million total budget. Funds spent to date are $9.5, with the remaining $2.3 funded by general fund, tourism and development funds, and special revenue fund. The splash pad portion was also bond 2019. And again, that project is complete, but we're still doing final closeout with the contractor, and the invoices will come in to finalize that project. And then Project 28, bond project 2019, Project 28, build a new fire station near Hayden Road and Loop 101. Total project budget was $13.7 million. Funds spent to date are $11.5, with a remaining of $2.2. Again, still in project closeout. The fire team just moved in on the 22nd, but we're still finalizing the contracts there. And again, that was bond 2019, general fund, and then bond 2019 interest proceeds as well.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you, Allison. I don't have any more speakers and appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, that concludes our business for this evening. So I will move to adjourn. All right, all in favor, stand up.